Croeso i chi gyd i'r pedwerydd rhaglen yn y gyfres o FCTV. Fe enw i yw Menna Williams a rwy'n gweithio fel swyddog technegol Ci Coch i Cyswllt Ffermio. A yn y gyfres yma fyddwn ni'n dod ar newyddion diweddara o'n ffermydd arddangos. Yn y gyfres yma o FCTV, byddwn yn canolbwyntio a perfformiad da byw. Byddwn yn ymweld â fferm llaeth sydd yn defnyddio technoleg blaengar i rheoli cloffni. Ymweld â fferm sydd yn canolbwyntio a ffrwythlondeb yr fuches sugno. Clywed fwy am clywydon gall fod yn eich diadelloedd a thrafod opsiynau gaeafu defaid. Ond yn gyntaf, ewn ni ymuno gyda Rhys Davies sydd yn fferm laeth ger Llanelwy, lle mae prosiect diddorol iawn yn ymwneud â lleihau nifer o fichod sydd yn lloia yn ystod y nos yn cymryd lle.
Welcome to Bryn Farm Tremeirchion, one of Farming Connect's focus sites. I'm Rhys Davies, Dairy Technical Officer in North Wales, and I've been helping Aled Potts run a project on reducing nighttime calvings. There are many advantages of doing this, including it's easier for farm staff to check what's going on during the daytime, milking and feeding colostrum to the calf quicker, be able to separate the cow and calf from the group, and ensure that the fresh cow eats quicker, and also allows the farmer to follow a more usual sleeping pattern. Let's see what Aled Potts has to say.
We farm 250 acres, me and my uncle. We were all year round calving herd, but we've kind of moved towards the autumn calving, mainly for the milk contract and hopefully the easier way of life. And we milk around 90 cows, hopefully increase to 100, and we keep a few sheep as well. I decided to look at reducing nighttime calvings mainly because we're a small business. We don't have to rely on staff. So if we had the calves calve in the day when me and my uncle are about, it's a lot easier than depending on one of us to get up in the middle of the night and worry about calvings when you know they're kind of coming in the daytime. It's helped mostly that we're about when the cow's calving. We can take the cow into a loose box straight away, milk her and test the colostrum and then feed the calf. If the colostrum's not good enough, we've got frozen colostrum that we can give that's better quality than the cow's colostrum, so you know that the calf's having the best colostrum straight away. In the working hours, we're more dedicated to the calf really, instead of having tired eyes worrying about getting to bed before the alarm clock goes off in the morning. We stick to a routine of feeding the cows at night time basically, between 5 and 7, the last job of the day. From far dries off to close-ups, they're always fed at that 5 to 7 period. If they run out in the day, they still won't be fed until that 5 to 7 block, and then the close-ups are fed a dry roll as well when they're fed with silage as well. So it's kind of keeping it into that routine that the cows know that they'll only be fed at a certain time, and I think that helps towards daytime calving basically. Technology on this farm helps us by, we've got a CCTV camera so we can record the cows overnight and in the day, and it can tell me exactly when the cow's starting to calve. If I'm not on the farm, I know she's starting to calve, I can get back, or if she calves in the middle of the night, I can know exactly when she calved, if it's 5 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning. So we've always got to look at the cows. We don't have to be here, we can always just check on the CCTV camera. Up to date, we've calved 52 cows, and 63% of them cows have calved between 6 AM and 9 AM in the morning. So basically it's so handy that we could just milk them straight whilst milking the other cows, so we've not had to go out our way and milk them on their own. They can come straight through the parlour. And with the herd so far, 92% of what's calved has calved between 6 AM and 6 PM, with only 6% between 9 PM and 6 AM in the morning, so it seems to be working. 100%. Over the next so many years, I'll be carry on doing the same routine because I find it's working, and I hope to collect more data. So the more cows we have calved, I'll have a better idea if it works in the long run. In the project, we'll be looking at yield, conception rate, and I think it'll also be interesting to see if that corresponds with time of calving or difficult calvings. So maybe if the cow calves earlier in the day, she gets treated better, she might get back in calf quicker, and at the end of the day, when we're trying to get this awesome calving block tighter, and if I get it in calf as quick, that's the main project really.
There are 30% of the herd still to calve, so it'll be interesting to see at the end of the project what the final results are. In the meantime, make sure you check out the Farming Connect website on the Bryn Farm webpage.
Lleihau golledion yw un ffordd syml o wella perfformiad o fewn unrhyw sector. Mae Elan Davies wedi bod yn ymweld â un ffermwraig sydd wedi bod yn wneud â prosiect sydd yn edrych i fewn i clefydau hynny sydd yn gallu cael effaith anferthol ar perfformiad y ddiadell.
Croeso mawr iawn i chi yma i Cort Ffarm, Sir Fynwy, un o ffermydd ffocws cyswllt ffermio. Yn enw i yw Elan Davies a dwi'n gweithio fel swyddog technegol cig coch ar gyfer De-ddwyrain Cymru gyda cyswllt ffermio. Ni'n rhedeg nifer o wahanol brosiectau yn cynnwys y prosiect yma yn Cort Ffarm sy'n ymchwilio i mewn i wahanol afiechydon sydd falle'n llai amlwg i weld yn y ddiadell. Galwyr y afiechydon hyn yn afiechydon rhewfryn neu iceberg diseases. Dyma Vicky Fisher o Farm First Vet sydd wedi bod yn gweithio gyda ni ar y prosiect yma yn Cort Ffarm i esbonio ychydig mwy am yr afiechydon hyn. A wedyn newn ni draw at Bryony Gittins, y ffermwraig yma yn Cort Ffarm, i esbonio ychydig mwy am y gwaith prosiect sydd wedi bod yn digwydd yma.
So in the sheep industry, there are 5 what we call iceberg diseases. These comprise of MV, OPA, Johne's disease, Border disease and CLA. These are all known as iceberg diseases because, likened to their name, there is a small number of animals that will actually show you signs of disease being in the flock. So there will be actual clinical signs, whether it be weight loss or coughing or scouring, then we'll see these symptoms. But then under the surface, then there is a lot of animals which show no signs of whatsoever, but actually they are harbouring a lot of the disease. And kind of like an iceberg, the bit that you can't see is probably the biggest problem because they are the ones that are carrying the disease through the flock, and also they are shedding it and keeping it persistent for us. So here at Cort Farm, we identified there was an issue with OPA. That stands for ovine pulmonary adenocarcinoma, or Yaxicti disease as its other name. This is actually a viral infection that results in tumours within the lungs of the sheep, and it is spread through some of the nasal secretions. So clinical signs, if we see them, would generally be weight loss, and then we get general respiratory signs, so it can be coughing, increased labour when they're trying to breathe, increased effort, you may see them tummy breathing. And because this virus causes tumours in the cells that produce the fluid within the lungs, then about half of the cases you actually get to see copious amounts of fluid come in either out of the nose or out of the mouth. Unfortunately, this disease is terminal and there is no treatment. Generally, the animals will either die from the tumours themselves or actually because the lungs are damaged, and then a bacterial infection will get on top and form a septicemia and kill the animal. And for control of this disease, unfortunately, the tests are fairly limited. So at the moment, we can only do lung scanning, where we scan a portion of the lungs on both sides, which is where we most commonly find the tumours, so we can identify them there. They're in development in the UK. They are looking at new tests that they are bringing through development, but they aren't commercially yet available. So the nasal excretions are what contains the virus, and they're what infects the rest of the flock. And they do believe with this disease that it's slightly older animals that manifest the disease, but they pick it up when they're much younger, but it takes a while before we see any symptoms. So here we have been scanning some of the older animals in the flock with a view that when we scan them, any that we see signs of disease on their lungs, that they're not showing clinical disease, then we're trying to cull those from the flock. And the aim is really to reduce the levels of disease within the flock to an acceptable level.
I'm Bryony Gittins. I farm in partnership with my dad Colin Passmore at Court Farm Lantoni near Abergavenny. We farm 550 breeding ewes, Texel Flean crosses and Aberfield. I realised the sheep were underperforming for two reasons. Firstly, our scanning percentage had dropped lower than usual, and secondly, when I brought the ewes in for housing, the first week or two after they'd come into the sheds, I had a higher level of mortality rates amongst them all. And I decided to look into some trace elements and other factors that might have caused this. It was during this time that Vicky came out to take some blood samples, and we noticed that the sheep had some fluid coming out of their noses and mouths, and Vicky suspected that that might be a sign of OPA. Having discovered the OPA in the flock, I have three options. One is to continue to scan, cull out any that show signs, clinical signs or signs on the lungs. Second is to look at changing the farming system I have and take out so that I'm not housing them for long periods of time, which have increased levels of infection. Thirdly, I could consider culling the whole flock and starting again with a brand new flock brought in from somewhere else. Each have its pros and cons. With the scan cull, it's ongoing financial cost, and we may never eradicate it from the whole flock. Changing the farming system here would take some infrastructure changes, and also we know the system now works, so it would be a bit of a risk to change dramatically the farming practices here. And to cull this whole flock would be difficult in two ways. One, this flock has been the flock from my father and before him, and we've had it here on these ewes have been here on this farm for a long time through generations, and it's a legacy that would be hard to let go. And two, there's no guarantee that we would buy in clean flock. There's no guarantee that where we go to buy new sheep won't have similar problems. It's likely that there are far larger numbers of farms that have these iceberg diseases that people aren't aware of yet, because without looking and without careful monitoring, you just might not know they're there. Vicky first scanned the flock in February, and the results showed 3.7% OPA within the flock. I marked up those ewes, let them lamb separately, and sold them once their lambs had grown large enough to sell the ewes and the lambs. In July, I then had a high number of mortality again after shearing. In August, we scanned again, and our percentage OPA had increased to 11.6% within the flock. Vicky and I are now looking at financial projections to help decide what the further course of action might be. Working with Farming Connect has enabled me to gather the knowledge and the information to make my decision going forward on the future of this flock at Court Farm.
I'r rhan fwyaf o ffermwyr defaid, yr amser fwyaf costus yn y calendar yw'r amser sydd yn arwain fyny at dwyna. Yma ar fferm Glanmynys, iliau costau, fel nifer fawr o ffermwyr yng Nghymru bellach, mae'n neud y fwyaf o cnydau bresych. Mae'r prosiect yma yn edrych ar perfformiad y defaid ar y cnydau. Dyma Peredur i roi chydig o'r hanes yn gyntaf, a Gareth o Procam yn sôn mwy am yr agronomeg.
Hi, I'm Peredur Owen. We've been share farming here at Glanmynys in Llandovery for the past 3 years. We are running both sheep and beef over roughly 570 acres. Our ewe flock is currently standing at around 1,000 ewes with 300 followers, and our main aim of the ewe flock is to reduce our reliance on bought-in feeds. In order to reduce our winter costs, we've incorporated a winter crop since we started here. 3 years ago, we introduced Swedes into the rotation, and this year we've also added a mixture of brassicas and stubble turnips into our winter feeding program as well. This is to ensure good quality feed for the ewes over winter without having to purchase any concentrates. In order to successfully grow Swedes and different winter crops, we've been working closely with our local agronomist Gareth Williams, who's helped us manage different challenges along the way in terms of weeds and pests, which have been quite a large issue here over the 3 years, with flea beetle in the first year and residual weed burden last year and a little bit this year.
My name is Gareth Williams. I'm the agronomist here working with Pred on Glanminnis Farm. The objective I was given was to help improve the swede crop that Pred has been growing for 3 years and to try something different. We've improved on the swede crop, and we've also grown for the first time a mixture of hardy turnip, rape and kale. The intention of that purely is an earlier entry to be able to utilise earlier and allow the swede fields to grow a bit longer and grow in dry matter. From the start we intended to graze it, so we've direct drilled the swedes into an existing sward. We've burnt those off with glyphosate and direct drilled in, monitored quite early for flea beetle. Didn't find any, so it wasn't required to do an insecticide. We did have to come back in with an insecticide for sawfly larvae, which were chewing on the leaves. And we did do a grass weed control in those in the crop. I'm holding one of the swedes here, which is I'm quite satisfied with. It's a good bulb. We measured 7.5 tons dry matter at the moment. By the time Pred is utilising that, which is December, January, it should be up to the sort of target between 8 and 10 tons dry matter, and that'll be utilised by ewes. So we're grazing swedes. We're trying to achieve between 8 and 10 tons of dry matter per hectare. A swede crop will produce around about 11% protein. These ones have actually been tested at about 9.5% protein. Protein is driven by nitrogen, so we can look at that and tailor for the future. The crop in itself looks quite healthy. Looks to be able to hold quite a few ewes through the winter, with an ME around about 13.1. We will be looking to reseed after the swedes with a long-term lay with clover in it. There is an inherent thistle problem on this farm, so it may be that we have to spray out some of the clover, but the long-term goal of this system, as well as feeding stock through the winter, is to get to a place where we can establish a herbal lay mixture and run that on reduced inputs, so lower the fertiliser requirements, have a better grazing palatability for the stock. The winter keep mixture, which I mentioned earlier, that would be kind of the other way around. We'd be expecting a higher protein, sort of a 13-14% protein and a lower ME. So they are different crops, but they have their advantages with the winter keep coming earlier in the season, and just given as an insurance policy against swedes, which can be hampered by flea beetle earlier on and can be hampered if drought sets in a bit earlier.
This year our winter feeding plan will consist of a third of the flock being sent away for winter grazing, with the remainder being fed on the mixture of rape, swedes and stubble turnips on daily allocations alongside silage.
Un elfen bwysig sydd yn gallu effeithio ar proffidioldeb buchesu sugno yw ffrwythlondeb. Mae Lisa Roberts ar fferm Gelabala sydd yn gweithio'n agos gyda'i milfeddyg i sicrhau ffrwythlondeb da o fewn y buches sugno.
Dyn ni yma heddiw ar fferm arddangos Rhiwedog Gelabala i gael trosolwg ar gwaith prosiect sydd wedi bod yn mynd mlaen yma i dynhau'r cyfnod lloia yn y fuches drwy ddefnyddio technoleg. Ac yma i esbonio mwy ni mae Aled a Dylan Jones.
Enw i di Aled Jones a dwi'n ffarmio yma mewn partneriaeth hefo mrawd a mam a tad yma yn Rhiwedog. Yma yn Rhiwedog mae'n ffarm 300 o aceri, a da ni ers rhai blynyddoedd bellach yn ffarmio uned arall sydd fferm gyfagos sydd mae honno tua 300 o aceri hefyd. Da ni fama sefyll ar ryw 700 o droedweddi yn codi tua 1000 adre yma, wedyn mae y ffarm arall yn codi, mae honno'n fwy o ffarm fynydd yn codi tua 1400 o droedweddi. Da ni cadw ryw 75-80 o fuchod sugno yma, mwyafrif o hynny yn fuchod duon Cymreig. Groesi hanner rheini efo tarw Charlet a hanner arall efo tarw du. Da ni'n gwerthu y lloiau fel gwertheg stos yn Merchnad Dolgellau gan fwyaf. Rhan fwyaf, Lenny, dwi'n gwybod, mae treian o'r gwartheg stores wedi mynd yn y Gwanwyn a wedyn mae'r gweddill yn cael ei gwerthu'n ystod yr Hydref rwan.
So at Rhywedog, the reason I've been involved here is that a few years ago there was some fertility problems in one of the bulls which wasn't spotted, and that's led to a really long extension to the calving interval. So in order to try and contract that calving interval back down, which has been the aim, we've done a few things. The first one was to ensure the fertility of the bulls, so we tested those before they were started work, and then we deployed the Moocall heat detection collar. This identifies cows when they're bulling, so the farmer knows which ones have been served. That means we can identify those cows which are not potentially cycling, not getting served, and we can deal with them earlier. It also identifies cows that maybe are being served more than once and are repeating, so we can look and to see whether there's a problem there. Issues we commonly see might be that cows where their ovaries go dormant after calving, and they may take some time to sort of wake up and be ready to cycle naturally. We can identify that with the Moocall collar where those cows just don't come and bull. Other issues we might see are cows where they just don't hold and they'll repeat and they'll be served multiple times, and there may be a problem with the cow that we want to address. So it means that we can identify them earlier and deal with them. Sometimes if cows have had a difficult calving, or maybe they've given birth to twins, they may have an infection in the reproductive tract. So one of the other things we've been doing here at Rhywedog is to check cows after their calving to make sure that they're not having any infection and that they're suitable to be bulled. Cows that are left empty are a cost without bringing anything financially back to the business. So you want cows in calf, and you want them to calve at the time so that you can manage the offspring forward into the future, and you can manage the cows well so that they perform optimally. There's major business benefits to managing it well, and then there's health benefits in that and welfare benefits to the cows are managed at the right stage, and the calves have better health if they're managed at the right stage too.
Wel, yn y gorffennol, da ni wedi cael teiro sydd yn gweithio'n iawn, wedyn mae'n cyfnod llwya ni wedi ymestyn bellach o fis Chwefror, wedi ti ddweud ymlaen i fis Hydref. Wedyn o'n i isio trio cael tynhau hwnnw nôl fel bod ni mond yn llwya, treian yn buchod Chwefror, Mawrth ac Ebrill, a treian arall Mai a Mehefin, fel bod ni wedi gorffen llwyan o lew erbyn ganol yr haf fwy neu lai. Wel, y system ydy, da ni'n rhoi coler ar y teiro a tagiau electronig special yn y buchod. Wedyn, mae'r goler yn pigo fyny bob tro mae'r fuwch efo tarw, a wedyn da ni'n cael text ar y ffôn yn dweud bob tro mae y fuwch efo tarw. A wedyn, mae'r app ar y ffôn yn cadw cofnod o dyddiadau, pa fuchod sydd o'r tarw ar dyddiadau, a wedyn da ni'n gallu cadw trac os oes na fuchod yna i lofyn, neu os oes na fuchod ddim yn gofyn tarw o gwbl, wel, da ni'n gallu gwneud rhywbeth ynghylch â hynny, yn hytrach na bod ni'n weithio tan diwrnod sganio sydd falle ddim am 3 mis yn aml iawn, a erbyn hynny, fel arfer, os gennym ni ddim syniad erbyn diwrnod sganio, prais yn gyflon a prais sydd ddim, ond fel hyn, gennym ni syniad go lew, da ni'n gwybod y dyddiadau, ac mae'n help mawr efo hynny. Mae'n system reit hawdd i ddefnyddio, mae eisiau chargio'r goler ar y tarw bob ryw 6 wsos i 2 fis, a hynny'n gallu bod dipyn bach o boen pan mae eisiau cael y tarw yn enwedig os ydy'n bell oddi wrth y llefydd handlo. Da ni'n cael dipyn bach o broblemau efo buchod yn colli tags. Pan mae hynny'n digwydd, da ni'n gwybod os ydy'r fuwch wedi bod yn gofyn tarw, wedyn da ni'n gorfod trio watsiad. Ond doedd dim gymaint o broblem yn yr ha, ond da ni wedi sylwi yn y gaea bod nhw'n dueddol o golli, ambell fuwch golli tags. Yn barod, da ni wedi gweld mantes o ddefnyddio, felly da ni wedi llwyddo I dynhau y cyfnod lloia'n barod, lle mae calving interval leni, wel, wrth 367 o ddyddiau oedd o. Ond mae'n lefydd I wella eto I gallu dod â nhw fel bod y cyfnod lloia'n yn fyrach. Mae y goler yn ufflon o handi I gael I gadw ar ben y gwaith, felly, a gwybod yn iawn prai os di dy deirwd i'n gweithio a os oes na fuchod ddim yn gofyn tarw fel bod ni'n gallu cael y vet I sbiad nhw'n gynt felly, a gwneud rhywbeth am y broblem cyn bod I'n mynd yn broblem.
Mae gwneud y defnydd orau o technoleg yn gallu fod o fantais mawr I ffermwyr o ran arben amser a gwella perfformiad y fiches. Mae fferm laeth Erw Fawr yn Ynys Môn yn defnyddio technoleg blaengar I fonitro mobility yn y gwartheg. Bydd Rhys Davies yno yn ddiweddar I weld sut mae'r technoleg yn gweithio hyd yma.
Erw Fawr, with the help of Cattle Eye and Professor George Oikonomou from the University of Liverpool, have been tackling lameness with the innovative use of deep machine learning and visual recognition software.
I've been identifying lame cows in the past by mobility scoring the cows as they're walking out of the parlour. We take usually a milking a month, watching the cows walking out, and we'd have a sheet and score them to between 1 and 3. It'd be a bit of a chore really to do it, and we'd never be on time doing it. It was one of them things, one of them jobs that we're really forced to do. But we always thought there was a benefit to it. We're trialling this Cattle Eye system out now, and it's taken the pressure off doing that job every month. Now we just take the information off my app on the phone as I'm walking around the cows, and then we keep an eye on the cows as they're walking up and down into the fields and stuff. So it's quite easy to check how the progress is going with if there's a lame cow, or if I'm a bit in doubt or something becoming lame, I can keep an eye on it. Yeah, since using the system, we've got a list of cows that come up on my app with Cattle Eye, and I can look at it whenever I want. There's a monthly graph on it, and it shows how the performance of the foot trimmer is working, and I've got a list of cows so I can present to the foot trimmer every fortnight as he comes. George then and his team in Leah's are monitoring what progress they're doing and keeping an eye on them as well. So we've got a to-do list of cows every month, every fortnight now. The record keeping of my lame cows now, it's in the app in the phone, and it's there to be seen for the last 12 months or since we've been using it, and it'll be a handy record to keep for my milk contract with Arla and farm assurance and all that. So we've got proof that we're doing it really.
I suppose the background to the technology, farmers are under increasing pressure to produce more food to feed a growing population, but to do so more efficiently and without any extra emissions. So for the animals that they're farming have to become more efficient. On the other side of that as well, then we have a lot of negative publicity regarding animal welfare. Consumer confidence has been dented by anti-dairy marketing campaigns, focusing on how intensively farmed dairy cows suffer high lameness levels, and as a result, consumers and therefore supermarkets are demanding a greater welfare standard from their farmers. So Cattle Eye was established in 2019 in response to these industry challenges, and has been designed to monitor the welfare of farmed animals by taking footage from security cameras and providing insights that can be used to more efficiently manage and improve welfare standards. To achieve this, we pick up early signs of lameness and give farmers an opportunity to treat that lameness before it becomes chronic. Ultimately, early indication and treatment will help lower antibiotic usage in animals and increase the overall efficiency of dairy farms, whilst providing evidence to consumers and retailers that farmers are working to the highest level of stock management. So the Cattle Eye system is a very simple system in the sense that it's just a very basic CCTV camera that's mounted in the exit race of a milking parlour. So basically, as the cows walk underneath that camera, the camera will scan the cow, and then it will basically run our algorithm, which will pick out key points on the cow and then be able to give us a mobility score. So as the cow walks past underneath that camera every time, it will automatically recognise that cow from the previous time. So we're able to build up a profile of how that cow is walking. The installation process for the system is very, very simple. So whenever a farmer expresses interest in the system, we basically ask him to send us a WhatsApp video which covers the surroundings of the farm, the parlour, the exit race, and we basically review that with our IT developers and will identify what we think is the best place to mount the camera. Now, the camera itself is just a very basic CCTV camera, which all it needs to be done is connected up to the farm internet, which can be done either by a company that we use or else you can do it with yourself or with a company you're familiar with. So basically, once that is done, we then ask the farmer to walk the cows past the camera, and we then train the camera to recognise those cows. So the only interference really that the farmer will have will be walking the cows past the camera and noting down the numbers of the cows. After that, everything else is automated. Research has shown that increasing cow efficiencies can reduce greenhouse gas emissions by up to 30% per litre of milk produced. We have worked out that we can take 0.5 tonne of carbon per year out of the cow's carbon footprint by helping the farmer make better decisions to make that cow more efficient. This will also have a significant impact on the farm's overall profits as the cows remain in production for longer and veterinary costs are significantly reduced. The Catalyze system can judge the cow's mobility on a daily basis using reference algorithms from thousands of cows linked to the system, whilst doing so silently and unbiasedly. This allows the user to monitor the situation and check for any progressive signs of lameness and signs of healing post-treatment. As soon as the system notices a change in mobility for a given animal, the user can assess the animal's foot to investigate days, possibly weeks before any human visual observation of lameness.
Professor George Oikonomou from the University of Liverpool is currently monitoring the findings of the project here at Erw Fawr, and later in the year will disclose his findings. So if you want any more information about the project here at Erw Fawr, please do not hesitate to get in contact with me.
A dyna ni, wedi dod i diwedd y rhaglen yma. Os hoffech wybod fwy am yr hyn rydym wedi dangos yn y gyfres yma, neu unrhyw elfen o cyswllt ffermio, cofiwch cysylltu gyda'ch swyddog datblygu lleol neu y rhif ganolog.